MMA fans? We're here for the last episode of the year, the Shootin' the Shit podcast here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, as well as Combat Press and every other place that carries the show. I'm your host, Riley Contact. This week, we have an excellent guest. You may know him as the MMA Roasted on Twitter. This is Adam Greenberg. Adam, how are you today, sir?
Good. Adam Greenberg is my legal name. Adam Hunter is what I go by. But
I knew that, but your Twitter name's Adam Greenberg, so I was like,
no, I like it. It's all good. No, it's cool. It's all good.
Perfect. Now, for some of the fans who may not know Adam is a comedian, stand-up comedian. He also does a lot of MMA related jokes. Again, check out his Twitter, MMA Roasted. Now, Adam, in terms of comedy, I'm a huge fan of comedy, very specific set of comedy. So when you got into comedy, who were your biggest influences in comedy that kind of guided you?
I was a big when I was younger. I used to watch Def Comedy Jam. That was like my favorite thing. It was on HBO. I used to watch Martin Lawrence, and I loved Def Comedy Jam. I was an Andrew Dice Clay fan when I was being from Long Island. I think you had to be from New York. And then Dangerfield. I always thought he was like really funny. Chris Rock is my all-time favorite comic. As far as my all-time favorite special is Bring the Pain by Chris Rock. I think that nothing even to this day stands up to that comedy special. So those are some of the guys that I really liked.
For sure. Now, is there anybody that people would say that you remind that when they think of you, they think of another comedian, like somebody that you're similar to in style?
I mean, I think it definitely changes, but I get like a young Dangerfield because I have like a lot of like set up punchlines. I'm definitely a throwback comic. I try to tell as many jokes as possible. I'm not really a storyteller. It's not really my strength. I don't really enjoy it as much. It's just like laugh, punch. So I would say that. Some people said Hedberg, which is a huge compliment. I wouldn't say that, because I just think that Hedberg is in a league of his own. But those are two people that I get compared to the most are people. Oh yeah, you're like a newer Dangerfield, and even that is like, Rodney is I think in one of my all-time 5 favorite comics ever. So
yeah, Rodney's a master. I think just obviously he's a legend. So that's a great comparison for you, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you spend your time out in California, if I'm not mistaken. Have you ever run across Norm Macdonald?
Yes, actually.
How was that?
Well, I heard a story about him, and I wanted to know if it was true, and he told me it was actually. It was a story how he was on Star Search and he didn't want to do it, or his manager kept pressuring him, and he like ran out of jokes in the final round. He didn't know what to do. So he went up there and he said, he goes, I have a bowl of soup, and then I put in some parsley, and I put in some chicken, and then I put in some tomatoes and then crackers, and then I put in some celery. And this went on for 5 minutes, and then without any punchline, and he got 0 stars. And then afterwards, Ed McMahon went up to him and said, "Hey, so you're from Canada? What's the difference between Canada and America?" And Norm was so nervous, and he looked down. He just looked at his shoes, and he goes, "Shoes." And then McMahon goes, "All right, that was Norm Macdonald, shoes." It was like the most awkward. So I heard that story, and I was dying laughing. I'm like, this is the greatest story ever. And that's so funny, And I asked him, and he said, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That has to be the most Norm Macdonald story ever, among others. But
yeah. So I was like, actually, like I couldn't, because I was one of those stories where like even like Doug Stanhope, you hear about like sometimes stories get like it's like telephone, right. And I heard that he used to close his set by shaving his balls on stage. And I'm like, there's no way. And then I was in, I don't know, Arkansas or somewhere in the Midwest, and the guy, the booker, the owner of the club was driving me to radio, and he was like furious. I'm like, why? He's like, well, last week we had Stanhope here, and he shaved his balls on stage. He goes, he the whole time he had like a bowl of water, and we put it on like the stool, and everyone's just like, what's this bowl of water for? And then he just started shaving, and half the crowd left, and the other half was like dying laughing, and so that like legitimately happened too. So that was like super. I was like, wow. I mean, I was laughing when I heard that. I couldn't laugh because the guy was next to me.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was like,
I mean, that can't be any worse than Bob Levy eating out a chick's ass with blue cheese on stage.
yeah. I've heard that story too from people that owned it. But I don't think but that story was like, I think that was sort of like, it was like the Howard Stern. It was like him, Beetlejuice,
Ah,
like
yeah.
Eric the actor. Like it was sort of like the Whack Pack and Bob Levy. So I think you'd expect that. Whereas like this was like less expected, but yeah, it's still crazy.
You're
So
trying to tell me that there's no standards when Beetlejuice and Iron Sheik are on stage?
yeah, right, exactly. Like I think I don't think people are gonna leave going, I can't believe that I paid for like I was expecting Ellen or something. Like I don't.
Yeah.
So certain times, like you don't know who the comic is, but when you go in there and it's like you're not gonna whatever, no reason.
Right. Right. So, I mean, from ass eating on stage to political correctness, obviously, it's a huge topic in comedy. There's one argument. Obviously, comedians should be able to say what they want because if you censor, you're not being true to the craft of trying to make people laugh any way possible. Is there any place in comedy for political correctness, or is there anything that goes too far in comedy, in your opinion?
Um, Not on stage. I think on stage is like, because I think that's the art form. It's like you're gonna be like, well, it's like in a movie or like in a play or on stage. I think where people get in trouble is when they tweet it out, because Twitter is not a comedy club,
Right.
or Instagram, or unfortunately, when someone takes a video of it and then they put it out there, because those people were not at the club. People have a right to get mad, but they can just leave. Most of the time before the show, they go, "Hey, fair warning, there's offensive stuff, and we're not going to give you your money back," kind of thing. Like you're going to hear some stuff, and I think that's one thing. It's when the problem is the social media, like the medium, and the issue is like it's you like it's a double-edged sword, because social media could make you as a comic, but could also take away your career. So you have to be so careful, you know. But that's what I've learned also, is that in the beginning I'm like, wow, Twitter is great. This is like a focus room. People can tell me if they like them or not. This is a great way to gauge material. Which would be great if it was like you and your six friends were the only ones that followed you. The problem is that things get retweeted and taken out of context. I mean, but it sucks, because for me, I'm just like, the worst place to start as an artist or a writer or anybody is to think, okay, who's going to be upset about this? Because it's like you're not going, who's going to laugh at this? You're going, who's going to get mad? So you're playing to people that are it's like you're playing to be safe, and there's nothing worse than that, But it sucks, because like certain comedy club owners, they get it, and they're like, a lot of times they were comedians first, and they sort of get the whole thing. But it used to, like in other art forms, it's like, okay, if 100 people go to a store and they buy hot dogs, and 99 people love the hot dogs, and one person fucking hates it, fuck that. 99 people liked it. But the problem is, the one person that hates the hot dog writes the Yelp review.
Right.
And the 99 people, they expect to like the hot dog. They don't even know about Yelp or whatever. So now, anytime you want to go buy a hot dog stand, you go and you look, and you go, this is the worst hot dog ever, blah, blah. And they go, oh, fuck that. I'm not going to that fucking store. So it's like, it kind of sucks. But I don't know the way around it. I don't know. I do know that I really have not changed my act. I mean, I changed my act because I write new jokes, but I haven't changed, and also because I've evolved as a person. But I'm like, people come up to me afterwards like, hey, thank you so much for being offensive, or for, not caring what people think, or going there, because there's no other place we can hear this right now.
Right.
And I get that a lot more than, this was the worst show I've ever seen, I want my money back. I think also the internet has made it so that people can check you out before they come see you.
Right.
They can see, that's good. But I mean, like, I did a show in Vegas, and the whole week went great. Then one lady came and got mad at the host, got mad at the feature, I said something. She walked out. She made a complaint. She said, I thought this was going to be more like Ellen. Her exact words. And then she tells the manager, who then tells the club owner. And then I get an email saying, hey, just so you know, we got to clean it up. And now, I lose the gig because of the one person.
Right.
And it's just like, until you're the draw, until like you're the Joey Diaz or Theo Vaughn or whoever, where, how Chris D'Elia was at, or it's like you always gonna have to play that game, which is a shitty game to play.
Right.
Because you're replaceable. Unfortunately, like a lot of comedians at my level or whatever, like, okay, if I can't get him, I'll get him. But it's not that way when you're like, oh, if I can't get Kevin Hart, I'll get, who else is going to sell 15,000 tickets in a day or something? So it is what it is. I mean, but at the end of the day, there's no better job. There's no, for me at least, making people laugh. You get to create your own hours. You get to tour the world. You're on stage and you're seeing people cry. People coming up to you afterwards are like, hey, my dog died today, or my mom got diagnosed with chemo, and they're like, and you made my day so much better. Literally 2 days ago in San Francisco, literally there was a lesbian divorced couple that came up to me afterwards, and this is not necessarily my demographic. Like it's not like the lesbian divorced couples all come and see, oh, Adam Hunter's in town, but they came up to me and they were like, hey, we have 4 kids together, 2 are special needs. We haven't been out in 6 months of the pandemic. Thank you so much. Like, thank you. And I'm like, that, the guy who writes parking meters for a living is not getting people thanking him for their job.
Right.
Like he's getting, fuck you, I wasn't parked here. So that's pretty cool.
For sure. And then you kind of perfectly are going to segue over, so thank you for that. How is, I know a lot, like the comedy clubs around here have obviously been shut down for a large portion of the year. They've just been getting open, with half mass or whatever. How did you get on, doing your job, doing stand-up comedy? Were you able to during the COVID lockdowns, or were you basically not working for a few months?
I shot a comedy special 3 weeks ago for the UFC. They flew me out, and they turned the UFC Apex into a comedy theater.
Oh, nice.
So that was awesome. Because I had that sort of going like for like a year in the making, I needed to get up as much as I could. So I was doing comedy either every night on Zoom, which is like the worst part about those shows, are having to DM people to watch your Zoom show. Like, hey, this is me. Are you around tonight to 8 o'clock for free to watch me on Zoom so I can test out? I mean, it's like, fuck. I feel like I'm giving out flyers again, which I was doing 21 years ago on the street. And then also, but I was doing shows at like, I don't know, I did a drive-in. People, if they like the joke, they honked your horn.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know. I got heckled by Brights. Like I was doing some outdoor shows, but even those, I was like, because it was good money and it was good experience and good this. So it was like every show I do outdoor to prepare for the special could be the show to get me COVID that could cancel the special. So it's just like preparing for that was a bitch. And then when I got there, it was great, but it was like maximum 50 people in the room because of the law, which meant there were 35 people in the crowd because 50 people worked there, and then they all had masks on. So, it went amazing, but it's because of 20 years of just the worst gigs ever that have like prepared me for those things, because not to like pat myself on the back, but a lot of comedians, might not have like been able to handle that because they haven't put themselves in the worst. Like I'm always the guy that's like, hey, I got a show at a barn and there's going to be cows in the crowd and a farmer's going to attack you. And there's going to be, a porn, there's going to be someone having sex behind you, here for $20. And I'm like, when? I'm always that guy that's like doing the most ridiculous shows. So it's like, it didn't throw me.
Oh, I bet. It's just funny though. It's just like, so if they honk, they thought the joke was funny. Like if they hit like the left turn signal, that mean like get off the stage or something, or
some comic was like, a car alarm went off and I thought I was killing.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now let's jump over quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time left with you. I know you're a wrestling coach. I know you teach the youth, obviously, and I know you have somewhat of a wrestling background, obviously, if you're coaching it. Do you do any MMA training, and if so, what gym do you train at?
I was going to Henzo Gracie's doing Muay Thai. I was wrestling a lot. I used to train with, I was Dan Hardy's coach, wrestling coach for a little bit for the GSP fight, for the one he got out wrestled for 25 minutes. But I was wrestling over at Legends, and I was doing it. Then I was doing jiu-jitsu at 10th Planet. Then I tore my ACL, and that took me out for like 2 years. And I've been kind of, I would say being a pussy, but like I've been hesitant to like, and you can't even say pussy anymore. It's too much of a, not anything wrong with pussies. I like love them, but my wives. So yeah, I've been kind of hesitant to go back to jiu-jitsu just because I'm 42 and I got a baby, and like I can't tear my ACL again and then not be able to walk like for a year like I could before. So now I just do this thing called Fight Camp in my gym, in my garage, which is like pretty cool. They send you like well, you have to pay for it, but it's a boxing bag, and then they have like punch trackers. They count how many punches you do, and they give you a different workout every day.
Oh, nice.
So I'm doing that Muay Thai on the bag and punching on the bag, and I was doing Muay Thai at Henzo Gracie's, which I love. But as soon as the COVID's over, I'm gonna get back into jiu-jitsu and wrestling and stuff.
For sure.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, if you thought that your wrestling was not inspiring to Dan Henderson, I do want to point out that for Ben Askren's fight against George Masvidal, I was his Muay Thai coach. So it couldn't.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, of course not. I'm just kidding. But he didn't last too long, for sure.
He was texting me before that fight because we did a video together. Because I write the MMA awards. Like I
Right.
wrote the All About the Cake video with Cormier, and we did one with Askren, the baby shark, and he's texted me like an hour before, like, dude, we got 500,000 hits. And I'm like, bro, you know, to get more hits, you beating up Masvidal. Like, come on, man.
You jinxed him.
No, they had the best, whoever, his coaching, Mike Brown, those guys, like, they knew what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they watched 19 fights of him, and they figured out the guy comes in with his head every single fight, and they were like, it was fucking brilliant.
Absolutely. Now, the last thing we'll do before we go, I said we'd do some predictions for 2020. It can be any 2021. Jesus Christ, it's been a long year. It can be any predictions. They can be jokes. They can be serious. What do you see happening in MMA in 2021?
2021. John Jones is going to be heavyweight. I think he's going to fight Stipe. Well, I want Stipe to win. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then after he wins the heavyweight championship, he's going to do something really dumb again. So that's, I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be, yes, of course. I think that there's going to be what else? I think there's going to be a prison league called Convicta. War Machine and Mayhem. Hopefully Mayhem's out of jail by then. Good buddy of mine. I think that bare knuckle boxing is going to be they're going to be next level. It's going to be nude bare knuckle boxing on OnlyFans. So I think that's going to be good. And what else do I think? I think Fight Circus is going to take off.
Yeah, I did see, like, what was it, like a 3-on-1 a couple weeks ago. That was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the predictions does Henry Cejudo finally get pubes next year?
I love that dude. That's like, he's a good friend of mine. And I actually wrote a song for him coming out for the MMA Awards, which is gonna break the internet. And I make fun of him so much in this, like say things like that, like just you're gonna watch it. So yes, I think he will get pubes.
Because I know it took my friend Garth a long time to get pubes, but I remember one summer it just hit him, and then
it happens.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'll give a couple of my 21 tournament. I agree. I believe John Jones will be heavyweight champion. I also think he'll have a sub felony within the first 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely agree with that. I think Cejudo will come back next year. Whether they let him on the ride, we'll see. And, you know, I think that, and this will be a serious one, I think the UFC will continue to have more star quality, and I mentioned this on last week's episode, more star quality cards, on free TV if they continue to not have to rely on live gates for attendance. So that way they can sell the pay-per-view on 1 or 2 big fights, but the other 3 fights on the card are stuff they wouldn't generally put on pay-per-view because they don't have to fill arenas. They just have to sell the pay-per-view. So that would be my serious prediction for that year. So, Adam, I will give you the floor right now. You can plug whatever you need, and then I will do the sign-off when you leave. I know you got to go.
Thank you. So December 18th, December 12th, December 18th, my special should come out on Fight Pass. Follow me at Adam Comedian on Instagram and Twitter, and at MMA Roasted. And thanks a lot, Riley. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, Adam. Thank you very much.